A very, very good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the NSSF Financial Literacy Program. This is the time when we converge into a class and we are going into the School of Money. Welcome and thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and taking off time where we can discuss, talk about money, talk about the money you have, not the money we have, not your money that we have at NSSF, but the money you have in your pocket. This is the overreach of the NSSF Kajanja, and we do this because you are our member, and we know as our member you need to create options for yourself so that when you pick your money from NSSF, and that time is coming, it's a when, not an if. When you pick your money from NSSF, this money that hangs around billions of shillings and trillions needs to find some sisters to hang around with. If it doesn't find any, it will definitely run away from you. My name is Mboa Apollo, and I am your host. Mine is to usually do the introduction and then hand over to the experts. I am the headmaster of this school, and I usually have to tell the people, and I remind them, Karitas, when you are referring to me, you please put Sir before the name and Sir after the name. So, Sir Headmaster, Sir is what I go with, and in this School of Money, we just compose ourselves and become students. Why? Because when we went through school, no one ever told us about money. We are talking about money, we are working to get money, we are studying to get money, but no one ever tells us about money. So let's take off 2 hours and discuss money. Before we start, allow me to just share some few slides with you, if the back office is kind enough to share with you. Today we're going to discuss red flags, and as it has been said, mine is to do the introduction. The experts will take it on. I just have to caution you that no one is an expert in money, but everyone has an experience. So whatever they share with you is from their experience. And it is you are the expert of yourself. So you will go ahead and make that decision yourself. Why are we doing this as NSSF? I don't know if the back office team is able to get this for you, but why do we do this as NSSF? One, still the 3 things that we are running with. I think the back office team will share with you as we go on. We want each and every one of our members to have options outside NSSF. Now, if your only option is NSSF, if the only money you have as savings is the NSSF money, we regard you as poor. Because poverty is lack of options. Poverty is not the lack of money, it's the lack of options. We want to reverse that story that our members get their money and within 2 years they have lost their money. That should stop. And number 3, we want to build a financially empowered membership, but not just a membership, but the entire nation. So we have these money conversations, and they are personal money conversations to build you and empower you as a person so that you can participate in the economy more empowered. Today we are talking about red flags, and I would want to share with you 4 quadrants. 1, there is the quadrant, and allow me to just understand this technology. I hope it doesn't.
Is this your water?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
There are 4 quadrants, and there is a quadrant of high risk and high return quadrant. The high risk and high return quadrants, that's where we find the stocks, that's where we find the businesses, that's where we find agriculture. They are high risk, but they're also high return. When you get into that quadrant, be aware that you can actually get high returns, but there is also a high risk that you may not get returns at all. That's one quadrant. It is known. There's a quadrant where it is high risk, low returns. The risks are high, the returns are low. And that's a quadrant you may not want to play around with unless you have other options, other objectives why you should be playing around with that quadrant. There is a quadrant of low risk, low return. Now, that's the conservative quadrant, and that's where NSSF plays around. That's where the banks, that's where the regulated financial institutions are playing around, because they are low risk, low return. When you look at 10%, when you look at 8%, when a bank gives you a fixed deposit at 6% and you say that is too low, it is because they're also putting in consideration the risk they are taking. There is a quadrant which is very high risk. It is very high return. apologies, but low risk. They said it's high return and low risk. Ladies and gentlemen, when you hear about that quadrant, that's the scam. Anything that is high risk, anything that is high return but has no risk is a scam. And today we are going to discuss about a little bit about that and other red flags. Most of us are expecting very high returns without taking a risk. That is a scam. Ladies and gentlemen, you are a candidate of a scam when you challenge the century-old principles of wealth growth. It is a wealth growth principle that you need to save, you need to get money, you need to grow money, you need to get money, you need to keep money, then you need to grow money. If you are thinking of just growing money you have not gotten, you are a candidate of fraud. You're a candidate of fraud when you disrespect the gift of time. Money grows over time. If you want more money to grow very fast, you are a candidate. Most likely you will fall into a scam. When you sideline your capability to being a victim, most of us, I think we are victims of fraud. We are victims. No, but we have led ourselves there. You have led yourself, you've taken yourself, and you have given them the permission to get into your financial world. When you relegate yourself into miracle money, I'm expecting some miracle money, some money that you have not worked for, there is no effort, you are going to fall into a fraud. Someone will sell you water or will sell you oil, telling you that you will make money out of it. When you force money into ventures that you do not comprehend, you do not understand these ventures yourself, you do not know them, you don't understand them, but you are forcing your money into them. You do not, you clearly, in your entire family, you do not understand business. You have never put up a chapati stall, but you are forcing yourself into opening up a shop in Chikubo with your NSSF money. You are the fraudster yourself. No one is frauding. You are the fraudster. When your financial advisor doubles as in another role, they are either your pastor, they are either your friend, your family member, they are your boss, your OB, they are coming with an opportunity. You're a candidate of a fraud. You're a candidate of a fraud when the returns you are going to earn outrun your year's earning, and you're going to get these returns in a month's time. That is already suspicious. When there is no work involved in the venture, there is no effort on your side, but you're expecting money from it. You're a candidate of fraud. Ladies and gentlemen, there are people who survived the scams, and I want to talk about 3 of them. Then let Karitas take on this conversation. There are those who were presented with an opportunity. It was a great opportunity, and they passed it. They said, yeah, it's a great opportunity, but I will pass. For you people, you need to go back and thank your parents for the education they gave you. They didn't just give you education, they gave you understanding. You understood what was going to happen. There are those who the opportunity was presented to them and they researched about it. Again, go thank your parents for your education because you are using that education. There is another category. They invested so little to test the waters. You are a survivor. Well, you are a survivor. Please congratulate yourself, you are a survivor. You tested, and when things didn't pan out, you left. But then there is that category, the ones that call themselves the smart savers. For them, they were the early birds. They went in early and left early after retrieving their profit and their bit. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have participated in that pyramid scheme and you got out with profits, for you, you are the chief scammer. Because the profits you got out are the bucks, are the monies of the people who have been defrauded. With an iron bar, for you can run a gang. Ladies and gentlemen, do not be part of this. Allow me to start this conversation and hand it over to Karitas Nalongo, our in-house celebrity. Nalongo Karitas is not just a moderator, but she's been a student. She has sat on these panels and she has picked wisdom. We have seen her going places and would want to say we are part of that journey. She may never mention us, but the wisdom she's picking from here is taking up places. So what
It
are you
is.
doing? You who's speaking wisdom from this. Nalongo,
Wanji.
please take the conversation on.
Thank you, sir.
Headmaster,
Mr.
sir.
Headmaster, sir.
Thank you.
I cannot fail that one. Thank you very much. And yes, another episode, another webinar, another lesson. Okusoma tekugwayo we bagamba. You study until you go 6 feet under. You're always learning something new. Now, if it's something that I have really enjoyed, it's been the webinars. The NSSF Financial Literacy Program. It has taught me a thing or two. Singa kale twatandika lulinga sinaba falling up into all those financial losses. I think, but they say better late than never. I've learned a thing or two, and I'll share. Sir Headmaster, sir, you'll be very proud of me when I share some of the things that I took away from here and implementing out there. So thank you very much for tuning in. Tell a friend to tell a friend that we're online, NSSF, all the platforms, Centenary Bank, all their platforms. And also we have Fidelis Leadership Institute that is also online, so you can follow us there. We're also on TV. Yes, we are on TV. We're on DSTV, channel 375, and also StarTimes, channel 282. Don't say I didn't tell you. So, today's when I got the topic that we're going to go into today, it hit me, and I started thinking about so many stories that I had read, so many conversations that I had had about people who had been scammed, about fraud, whether it's been in the press or it's just people's personal stories, and it was so sad that nothing could be done. But something can be done. If you yourself safeguard yourself, you learn, you look for those flags, you get to know what those flags look like, then you safeguard yourself. You learn also to protect yourself. But today, we have other guests, our panelists, that are going to shed more light on that. So my name is Karitas, aka Nalongo, and I'm going to take you through today's webinar as always, and I'm hoping that you're doing well wherever you tuned in from. Abali ebulaya, sansenyo kubala bwemuli. All those that are tuned in from office, from home, wherever you are, thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. You make this happen. Okay, so today I have two guests. I'm going to start on my far left. I'm going to introduce Mr. Muhumuza Robby, who is a management and communication consultant. You're very welcome, sir, and a good morning. I hope your microphone is on.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is on.
Okay. And here to my close left is Mr. Fabian. Mr. Fabian is a managing director for Centenary Bank, and we are happy that you've made time to come and teach us a few things about those red flags. You're very welcome.
Thank you very much, Karitas, for having me here.
Okay. All right. So I always like to start off from financially. We want to be as relatable as possible. We want to, when our viewers out there will see us, I was telling you this off air, people tend to judge others. They say, that one I rove. That one, you took a see you driving a huge car. I say, that one already, she's fine. People look at me and they'll say, that one. They don't know my financial woes. They don't know what I'm fighting financially. But yes, it is always good to share because we get to learn from each other. I think I'm going to start from any financial decision that you may have made, a financial decision that you may have made that was a wake-up call. That moment that you probably made an investment, put your money somewhere, and you learned the hard way, and you said, now I have learned, I now know better. Do you have any of those moments in your financial journey? Maybe the first investment you made, or maybe the first money you got. Someone was telling me yesterday how our youth get their money and immediately the money they get, it's gone, it's disappeared. They've used it, they've spent it. Or they've invested it in something. They put it somewhere, a risky place, somewhere where they're not going to get any returns. But they've put it there. But those are decisions that you've made before you're aware, before you learn, before you're more knowledgeable. I want you to share any one of those financial decisions that you may have made that you probably regretted for a while. I'll start with you, Robby.
Thank you. I am one of those they call low risk taker.
Oh.
But I try to learn a lot from other people's mistakes.
Mm.
I was National Director for World Vision Uganda.
Oh.
We employed hundreds of staff. And every year, those who reach retirement, I would give them their package and they would leave. And I've never forgotten this staff who worked all his years for World Vision, or most of his adult years. We gave him a package, we gave him a send-off. He went to the village, and somebody came and said, why don't you invest in a lorry? We need trucks here to transport people's sand. So he got all his money, he put it in a truck, and within a few months, the truck was grounded.
Oh dear.
He came back to the office, very shattered. And he hadn't even constructed a house in the village. And we had to put up fundraising for him. And I thought, when I retire, I don't want to be like that. And so what I did as a national director was to organize a financial literacy training for the other staff. But I was one of those taking notes on how not to lose money. When I eventually retired, I got a lump sum, and it was not small. I never got that amount of money before. And so what I did was put it in a bank, trying to figure out what to do with it. And the error, the regret I have is that my bank was happy to keep my money, and they didn't tell me anything. So the money lay there for a number of months. And at the end of the month, they were deducting ledger fees on it. So one day, somebody told me, but you could fix your money and you'd get 8%. And I thought, why didn't I know this? My money has been lying in the bank, losing value. I could have fixed it. So I fixed it, and I was happy to get 8%. But then one day, I went for a financial literacy class. And the headmaster, Mr. Mboa, before he became headmaster here, was the teacher there. And he said, you could put your money in a government bond and you could get 20% annual interest rate. I said, what? My bank didn't tell me. They've been giving me 8%. And so I lost some money. I could have got some profit, but I didn't get the profit for a number of years because I didn't invest in financial literacy to get good return on my money. And I told Mr. Mbo, I wish I had met you much earlier. I could have made more profits from this treasury bond of 20% annual instead of getting 0 on savings, getting 8% on fixed deposit with the bank. So that was a lesson for me that I wish I had learned much earlier. I could have got more money out of that. But there are other stories of relatives, but we could mention that later, who invested in scams.
Yeah.
But that will be for
You'll give them
next
to us
time.
as examples. We'll get those as examples,
Thank
yes.
you. But
Sir,
for me, that was my main lesson. I put where I couldn't get interest, whereas I could have earned interest on my lump sum that I got as my retirement benefit. Thank you.
Had you known, that's why we have these financial literacy programs. And Sir Headmaster, Sir, well done on all the work you're doing. Your student is here. He's also going to teach us. Gamba, it's a whole cycle. I like that. You learned the hard way. He taught you, and then you're coming to teach us as well. I love this. Now, over to you, Mr. Fabian. Share with us that financial decision. I don't know whatever age you are, but you look back and you're like, why did I do that? Or maybe you're not a risk taker.
Well, if you don't take risk, you can't earn. Because earning is all about taking risk. If you just want to leave your money in a box somewhere, it probably could be safer, don't know, but you earn nothing and it loses value. So there's always a risk in every financial decision. It depends on your risk appetite, the level of risk that you want to take. When we had just started working, I started working at Bank of Uganda, and there was this urge of earning more on top of what you are earning as a salary, and we used to get advances from our employer, and people will do all sorts of things with those advances. We used to have a 2-year advance, and you would take it and do something, and the temptation was to reinvest it. To invest it somewhere. And I remember at that time it looked so easy to say buy a taxi and give it to somebody to put it on the road. After all, I think at that time you would be told every day they will bring you 20,000, and you're like, this is easy. I mean, I've got this advance, it's the money I have. Why not buy a taxi and have somebody drive it? But I can tell you, not many people earned from it, and they lost. And I was one of them. I lost. And the lesson I learned is that you can't invest in a business where you are not, and you think you'll earn. You know, who are in the offices working, and you've put it on the road for somebody to drive it for you, hoping to bring money to you at the end of the day. It never happened. It never worked. So business in which you are not, the risk is too high for you to take. A business that you can't directly supervise, business that you can't clearly understand the risk profiles and everything, it becomes a futile exercise for you to invest. That was the first lesson. Second lesson is that businesses that are mobile, like a taxi, they are very risky. So you ought to have put in place systems that are adequate to monitor and manage those risks. Otherwise, you've given the driver your money, he will tell you all sorts of stories. They would even come and concoct a story. They could connive with the policemen, come with things indicating that they were in fault and the vehicle has been at police the whole day. Yet they've been, using it, taking it wherever and earning, and for you giving you nothing. And at the end of the day, it breaks down. Then you are supposed to buy the spare parts and so on. So business that you are not in, business that you can't directly supervise, mobile businesses, which are not fixed, very risky. And you need to always understand some of those things before you can go into an investment.
Narong, I've remembered something
Yes.
now that he's mentioned.
Yes.
I come from Western Uganda.
Could you pull your microphone closer? Just drag it closer to you. Yeah.
I come from Western Uganda,
Yes.
and our land tenure system is different from the one in Uganda. When you buy land, you own the land. And I have a cousin who was living in Wakiso. One day he came and said, there is land available here. It's cheap. You can invest it in our local language, Taka. I think he said Chibanja. And for me, Chibanja and Taka are the same. It is land and you are the owner. So he said, I even know the one who is selling the land. So I talked to my wife, and we went and bought Chibanja, thinking it was land that we could own. And when we said, can we get a land title? He said, no, this land is Milo land. But you can use it as much as you can. Since we had already paid for the land, we decided to do agriculture in it. And our cousin volunteered to look after the land for us to farm. So we gave him money to till the land, and he tilled the land. We gave him money to buy beans, and he planted beans. And we would go there once in a while to visit. Before he knew it, he said he had harvested the beans, he had taken them to Wino, and he had sold them. But the amount of money he gave us was far less than the money we had used to till the land, to buy the seeds, to pay for weeding. And we burnt our fingers because, one, we didn't understand the nature of the tenure of the land. We didn't know the difference between Chibanja and Taka. And we didn't know about my land because this land didn't belong to the one who sold it to us. He was a squatter on the land because the land, I think, was for the Kabaka. And we couldn't get a land title. And then we relied on somebody to give them money, and they would do agriculture for us. And he even went ahead and sold for us. So eventually we lost the money, also lost interest in the land, because for us we had wanted a land title to develop the land, but now we couldn't get a land title and we didn't know. So investing in land that you don't understand in terms of the tenure system, and not buying from the owner, buying from a middleman or a middlewoman, you may have, as well as not having land. We became squatters without even knowing. But relying on somebody, wanting to monitor agriculture from a distance, on phones or visiting once in a while, surely you'll lose. We lost.
And imagine you're getting your money. You've been there planning for your money. You've worked so hard. You did not take leave. You did not, you've worked very hard. You've pushed it. You've said, you know what, I'm going to push it until I'm 50. I'm pushing it at least until I'm 55. You're staying in that workspace. And you're going to get that money. I know the gentlemen here who were talking off air, and they already confided in me that they collected the money, but will not say when or how much it was. We'll just leave it there. But clearly, it was put to a very good investment. I'm sure it was invested very well because lessons were learned before, because they were taught, because they listened, because they asked questions. And that's what you need to do. If you have any questions, send us those questions, and we'll be glad to ask our panelists to shed more light on those. So, talking about red flags. Now, first, let me talk about, because I was talking to someone yesterday and we were talking about Nkuba Cheyo, who are very big investors, huge contributors to our revenue here in this country. But there was stories, not just one, many stories of some who had invested in real estate. But like you said, first of all, the problem is they're not here. They're abroad. So they have no option but to entrust somebody else to do the work. And many of them were scammed. You've had those stories where someone, Nzimba Nyumba, you come back home. They're sending you photos, but the photographs are probably houses in the neighborhood or wherever they've got the photographs from. You come back home and there's no house. They've frauded you. All your sweat has gone down the drain. So in cases of people like those, you're not here. You've been talking about managing business on phone. The person is not here. What are those red flags that person needs to look out for if they want to invest back home, if they want to get that money and invest it back home, but they don't live here? What are those red flags you would ask them to look out for as they try to invest back home? Fabian, I'll start with you.
Well, money is a very difficult thing to manage. Very difficult to entrust with anybody, not even a relative, not even a close relative, and so on. So you have to be very, very careful. If you are abroad, you want to do something here, you have to be careful as to who you entrust your money with. And that's why business is the most regulated industry all over the world. If you talk about banks are highly regulated because they deal with money. Insurance companies, stock exchange markets, highly regulated because there is money involved. I would advise somebody who would want to send money to do something to use a regulated institution. Your relatives are not regulated. Your wife is not regulated. Anything can happen when money lands in somebody's hands. Anything will happen with it, and there will be no, repercussion. There will be nobody to say, look, why did you do what with the money, and so on. So let them use regulated institutions. There are so many schemes that financial institutions are offering. People who are abroad, who want to buy property, who want to invest here, and so on. Let them use those regulated institutions, such that even if there is a problem with your money, there is somebody to go to. Yes, there's somebody who will be accountable. Rather than saying, I have a friend, we've been together, somebody saying there is land, there are houses that are being built, he has built, he can build for me, let me give him money, you'll build for me, you'll be in trouble. You'll be in trouble. So as long as you sense there is no regulation with that person that you want to send money, it is a red flag. Don't go there. Ensure that you look for somebody who is accountable, somebody who will be held accountable by an authority for you to ensure that your money is safe.
Like that. Do you have something to add on?
There is a saying that take a cent a wallaba.
Yes, that's true.
Take a cent, put money where you can monitor. So even when you, adding on to what my friend has said, those regulated institutions are accountable, but they can also give you regular reports on how your money you've invested with them is doing. One, if they're regulated, but also if, for instance, you find a company that can build, they are regulated, but there's a third party who is monitoring for you. That if they say the house has reached ring beam, he's taking the photograph for you. It's not the same person who is building who's also showing you photographs on the developments, on the quality. There's a third party who's also been regulated, who is monitoring for you. If you invest in a company that does unit trusts, they are giving you regular reports on how it's doing, if it's fixed deposit, if it's treasury bonds. All of them are able to give you information regularly on how your investment is doing, rather than just trusting in them to tell you stories when they could be defrauding you.
Okay. Now, from your line of work and from your experience in what you do, and of course, recently we had the story of that investment that went down the drain, the one of the buds. I don't want to dwell on that one, but yes, I mean, I didn't understand how people invested in it. Like, what was so juicy? What was that selling mark, the one that helped the deal go through? Like, I mean, so many people all going for the same product, going for the same deal, and none of them seeing a red flag. I don't know if there were any red flags that probably they missed, but I think maybe the deal was very juicy. That's what I'm thinking, and I guess that's what always draws people in. Now, if we're talking about our country, Uganda, I'd love to hear from both of you. What would you think, what would you say are the most common types of fraud in which area in this country?
Well, I think it was mentioned at the very start. Every time you see a deal that is too good to be true, there is a problem. Because you have to respect time. Money grows with time. You have to respect effort. Where you haven't put any effort and you think you'll give money to somebody to grow chicks for you and give them to you and you earn, 20% in a space of 3 months, 2 months, that is too good to be true. And therefore, it can't happen. There must be a problem. It can't happen. So people need to look out for schemes for where it is too good to be true. It is not true.
Yeah. Do you have something to add on?
There are many different types of scams that have been in the world, but also in Uganda. And some of them looked a bit complicated, tax-free, of tax or forex trading or multi-level marketing, where they don't explain to you exactly what they are doing with your money, but they are promising you a lot of returns, and then you trust them and you give them your money. This last one was a bit different, and I'm trying to explain why I think it took in many people. They used something that sounded convincing. They talked about birds, and a lot of people know about birds, but they've never grown the birds themselves. So they had a product that sounded convincing, because there are many other people who are growing poultry and making money out of it.
Yeah.
But the difference was, and that's why they missed the mark, the amount of profit they were promising to come out of poultry
Was too much.
is too high. And they're also guaranteeing that if you put in this amount of money, after so many months, we'll give you so much money regularly. But those who have done poultry know that the price, the number of chicken you'll be able to get, the number of feeds, money you'll pay on feeds, the market price are all fluctuating, and you can't get the same profit every month out of a business. So when somebody guarantees you high returns regularly with no risk, that is a red flag. Even if the product may sound convincing, like chicken, go and check. Those are the people who are selling chicken. Well, how much profit are they making? Go and visit the farms.
Yeah.
This one didn't even have the
Research.
farms. They had the office in Kampala, but people believed them. So research to understand the business and the amount of profit you are likely to get is one of the homework you can do. And if it's too high, that is a red flag.
The red flag involves them doing research. If you'd researched, you'd see the red flags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe I can also add, every time you are going, I think it was also mentioned, every time you are going into an investment, you don't clearly understand how it operates, you are getting into trouble. Recently, there has been the talk about cryptocurrency.
Oh,
You know, cryptocurrency, people don't know how it works. You know, if I put in this, how will it come to a profit? But it is being hyped and everybody is talking about it. Other people are giving testimonies how they've earned the money from cryptocurrency, and if you go and put in money, you are getting into trouble because you don't understand how cryptocurrency works. If you go to a bank, they will tell you, if you place so much money, we are giving you 8%, and this is what you'll get at the end of the day minus tax. Very clear. You understand it. And you are able to always do an audit to say, look, when I went into this, you told me, and the certificate is here, I will be earning 8% minus withholding tax of 15%. And this is the money I expect. Why is it less? You should be able to question. But where you are not able to question whether cryptocurrency depreciated by so much or went up, and there's nowhere to refer to, then you shouldn't go there.
That's so true. I mean, it does make some sense. You want to add on something?
Yes, I want to add
Okay.
on. You are still talking about this last scam. I think why so many people went into it. One, it was regulated, but not by the authority that regulated. Because this particular company was registered with URSB as a company,
Okay.
not for investment, but for poultry. But they ended up doing
The
investments. They did a lot of advertising, both on social media, but also on regular media. And so people thought, if I see it on TV
Yeah.
and
It's
here on
of course,
radio,
yeah.
it must be okay. But the one who can authorize investments, a company to do investments, either Bank of Uganda or Capital Markets Authority. So if a company says we are doing investment for you, it's not just registering with URSB. You need to go and check, are they registered with authority that has the powers, the credibility, legally recognized to give that type of regulation. Not just any regulator, because they can show you a certificate of incorporation with URSB.
Yeah.
They can show you a certificate from KCCA, a trading license, but is that the business they've been authorized in by that authority? Capital Markets Authority has got a website. And on that website, they've listed all the companies that are regulated to do investments in Uganda. They've also listed those companies that have been deregistered or have been cheating people. So before you invest your money in anybody who says they can take your money, invest it for you, go and check on the website, is that company officially registered there to do that business? If it is, if there is any lose your money, you can go back and ask for redress. But if they are not registered, shauri yako, you're in trouble.
In other words, do your research before you even put that penny wherever you want to put it. The information is all out there. I know some people find it difficult to go and ask, aja kunsaba sente. If I go and they will know my business, they will. But this is going to save you in the long run, because then you get to know more of what's out there or what you're getting into. Now, I know I wanted us to also get into some of the investment schemes that are out there, the ones that are, your Ponzi schemes that are out there, but then also there are those that have been mentioned time and again, your government bonds and all that. So I'm going to keep throwing in questions from our viewers, mix them in there so that you get to answer their questions. CEO Lydia, thank you very much for tuning in. CEO Lydia is saying, what is the procedure of getting government bonds? I think I'll start with Fabian.
Well, government bonds, you have to get them through banks. There are banks that are designated to avail these bonds to customers. They are called the primary dealers. I think currently we have 7 commercial banks that have been authorized by Bank of Uganda to be primary dealers. So those are the ones you need to approach, and the list is there. Of course, Centenary Bank is one of them. You can approach Centenary Bank. They will open for you an account for you to be able to deal primarily. But you can also go to the secondary market. There are those who have got their bonds the
sell.
papers which they want to sell, not in the primary market but in the secondary market. So if the lady approaches a bank, they will be able to be taken through the process. It is very simple. It is easy. You give there your details, and then they'll give you that account, and then you tell them how much money you need to deal. And if you are going to for the primary dealing, depending on, because there are limits. If it is below a certain amount of money, you will wait when others have dealt, and then you will buy from them. So the banks are the people, they are the institutions that will avail, that kind of vehicle of investment.
You have a desk at Centenary? They can
Yes,
come
we
and-
do. I have a desk. We have a financial markets division, and when you come to us, we'll take you through that simple process.
Okay. We have many people tuned in. Betty Nagirinya. Good discussion. Thanks for the invites. It's true you cannot manage a business you have not been involved in personally. Becca Nakata want to engage in bonds. How is that? I think we have answered that. If you have any more questions, you can go to Centenary Bank and they will answer, and they will also they'll also answer your questions, whatever they may be. And you can also send us a WhatsApp. If you have a question, send us send us those questions on whatever platform you might be. We'll go through them. Now, Grace Akelo, thank you for tuning in. She's saying, reinvest in NSSF. How about one reinvests in NSSF? But then also goes ahead to ask, why not buy a lorry? I think, I think you both could answer that. I'll start with you, Muhumuza.
I wanted to add on the bonds question. There are short-term investments, which are called treasury bills, up to 1 year. And then there are long-term investments, which are called bonds, anywhere from 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. But you all start from the commercial bank that is authorized. The bank will help you open a bank account for dealing in treasury bills with the Bank of Uganda. And that account for dealing in bonds and bills with the Bank of Uganda has no charges. You open it with you don't have to pay a deposit. There are no monthly charges. You keep it, for the rest of your life. Even if you change banks from one bank to another, the same account will remain with the Bank of Uganda. And if you want good returns, you wait for the auction. If you go to the Bank of Uganda website, you're going to see a calendar for the rest of the year. When are they going to have auctions, either for treasury bills, short term, or treasury bonds, long term? So you'll see the calendar to know when the auction will be, and that's when you can participate in buying from the primary market. If you want to invest now, you have your money, you can't wait, you can go to your commercial bank. They'll sell you on the secondary market. But when you go in the secondary market, you're going to get a lower interest rate than if you wait and you buy from the primary market. But the good thing with it is that they are there every 2 weeks, every month. And so it's a low risk, sure deal that you can invest in until you collect enough money to buy the lorry. Now, if you want to buy the lorry, because that's the one I'm answering, you've got to understand vehicles very well. Maybe you've been a mechanic. Maybe you've been a lorry driver. Maybe you've got to understand how vehicles and vehicle business work. Otherwise, if you buy a lorry, you are depending on somebody. You don't know if they'll be telling you stories. The lorry has broken down. The lorry has been arrested by the police. The lorry needed repairs. There was no business today. You can hear all sorts of stories. So unless you are managing it yourself, or you have a good manager who understands, who follows up and monitors every day, yes, you may lose your money. You may lose the lorry and the money in it.
Fabian, you have something to add on?
No, not really. I think he has covered it. And
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so that's the part. I don't know whether Mr. Headmaster Sir will probably tell us later on about reinvesting in NSSF. I think he'll be glad to answer that question. We have so many questions coming in from you wherever you're tuned in. Remember, we're all on all our platforms, NSSF, all the platforms, Centenary Bank, all their platforms. And then also we have been joined by Fidelis Leadership Institute, and also on all their platforms we are streaming right now. Now, Elijah Kasada to Fabian. Where, to whom do people who lose money from the bank accounts go? And that is one of the questions I was going to ask you. Is there like a fraud desk? Is there like when somebody loses money, because if we look back and we look at all the stories that came out in the press, it was the police. It was always the police. It's the police who's handling it, picking up people. But then I had also wanted to find out where does one report such crimes? Is there one place somebody can go to?
Yes, there is definitely. And the person in charge of your money primarily is the one in charge of the team where your money sits.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an account in a branch, with a branch wherever, for example, Centenary Bank has so many branches across the country, just approach the branch manager.
Mm-hmm.
He's responsible. Just place your query with him or her and leave it, or CDK.
Mm-hmm.
So you will be able to ensure that everything is investigated to the end to find out how, if your money somehow got lost, where it got lost, and you'll get justice. Yeah.
That one brings me to that. I know Bank of Uganda was trying to put a policy in place for you, for institutions, to make sure that institutions tell about these crimes, not keep the crimes and protect that information. I don't know whether that's something that sits well with the banking institutions, that these are crimes that are happening within your institution. So, and the bank is asking you, BOU is asking that you let that known. Is it something that you think will help?
It has been happening. It is a practice that within the banks under the UBA, Uganda Bankers Association, on a regular basis, every time there is a fraud, it is shared amongst ourselves.
Okay.
First of all, to everybody to look out for similar frauds, and also to ensure that if there are people that have been identified, in that fraud, they are earmarked, and they don't do business with any other financial institution. So that information is shared by throughout the banking industry, and of course, when the Bank of Uganda wants any information, it is always available.
And do you have a high success rate in recovering the money?
Yes, and that's why we involve all organs of government that are involved in law enforcement. Police comes in, courts of law come in, all these, we use them to ensure that police helps with the thorough investigations, and if it is a case for court, it goes to court and justice is availed.
Okay. Thank you for your questions, people. The questions are coming in. Okay, so Daniel Olili, hi. As a youth in their 20s, what is the best saving and investment option to move forward with? Do I refrain from building a house and using this money on something that can bring back, say, passive incomes, businesses, etc.? If so, do I then continue with rent or mortgages? Would anyone recommend a path they think might save a young person the most chance to have their money in sweet at the time of retirement? Yeah, starting early.
Starting early is a no-brainer. It is something that we all, I'm sure many of us are regretting. We wish we had started early. But starting early is something everybody needs to take very, very seriously. Some of us are lucky that we started working with institutions where there was an obligation to save with NSSF. You can look back and say now, if probably there was no obligation, I probably wouldn't have, saved the kind of money I have with NSSF. But it was a very good thing, and we thank, police makers at that time who thought it right to ensure that there is that window where you are obligated to save. Otherwise, savings are not an easy thing. The temptation, usually you get your money, you were youth, you want to buy a new shoe, you want a new phone. They keep coming out, the iPhones almost every month. You want to buy a car because you are seeing your friends, driving cars and so on. So the temptation is to be consumptive, to consume. So you need to take a deliberate effort to save, because that is the starting point. Of course, after saving, you must invest, because just saving and putting money on an account somewhere is not enough.
So he shouldn't build a house, he should invest.
Invest.
Because he wanted to build.
Well, again, it depends on how, because he needs to assess. If he builds and he will be able to save rent
on the side.
on the side, then it can be a decision he can take. Of course, a house is a necessary property to have, but it also depends on how much house you want to put up. You know, somebody.
How much house?
Yes.
How much house do you want to put
How
up?
much house do you want to put up?
Yeah.
Somebody may want to put up an 8-bedroom house because he has seen all the rich
Yeah.
people have these huge houses.
Even though they don't need it.
Even if though they won't, they may not need it now, but eventually probably they won't need it. So you need to do that assessment and make your decision. It becomes very difficult for me to come up and say, don't build, continue renting, or rent and build. There are all those things that you need to take into account in order to make an informed decision. So the research that has been talked about becomes very critical. The risk appetite, the risk you want to take, and you know, a number of things have to come into play for you to be able to make an informed decision.
Robby, yes, you want to add on there because he's also really asking where would he put that money?
Okay. I want to start off by answering a question that was asked earlier
Okay.
about investing in NSSF.
NSSF.
About 14 years ago, I retired from employment and I was 50. And so, I was restructured out of employment.
Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't a personal decision. And then 1 year later, I qualified to get my NSSF. So I applied to NSSF. They looked through the records and they gave me my package. I went and invested it. Then 2 years later, I started receiving messages from NSSF that after giving you your money, we discovered there was more money that we didn't give you at that time.
Wow.
And every year, that money has been increasing. Excuse me. Excuse me. That money has been increasing. So on a rainy day, I'd be knocking on the door of NSSF, excuse me, for my money. So there is value.
There's value in reinvesting in NSSF.
Investing. Thank you.
Remember, we're also on DSTV. Don't do tell a friend to tune in. There's no reason why you're not tuned in. The earlier, the better. I mean, we're not going to wait until when you have that money to be able to invest it. So, tell a friend to tune in. We talking about investments, and you were still going. Are you good to go?
Yes. I wanted also to add that saving is very difficult.
Yes.
Voluntary saving
It's a discipline.
as a habit is very difficult because there are always things to spend money on. Now, the organization I worked for had NSSF, also had a provident fund where every month they would deduct from staff's money and add on and keep it with the fund manager. We also had a staff circle. So in my working career, I was having NSSF, comparison being taken.
Your salary.
I was having provident fund by the organization, organizational saving. I was also a member of a staff circle. So this was organized saving regularly. And once I would save enough money, maybe for 2-3 years, I could get a loan from the staff savings to invest. So I was able to buy land and build in Kampala based on the savings I was doing on the staff savings. When I eventually retired, I had a big package because I had the Provident Fund,
The circle.
I had the NSSF, I had the retirement benefits. And then I had the time to invest because we've been saying that you should invest where you can also monitor. But if you have a busy job, you're working, almost 24/7. You're working weekends. You are going to be divided between doing your personal business that need a lot of monitoring, if it's away from Kampala, and also keeping your bosses happy and reaching your goals. And so for me, it was mostly after retirement that I had a lump sum that I started looking at options of investing where I could monitor. And so it is important to save and invest. The question of Should he put the money in a mortgage, in a house? It depends, from person to person, depending on your circumstances. But for me, I found that being able to buy land and put up a house was helpful. So that when I retired, I had somewhere to go. I didn't retire when I had a mortgage. I didn't retire when I was paying rent. I retired when I had accommodation. Now, the mistake I made when I got my provident fund early on was to go to my home village and build a big house. Because it is fashionable. My neighbors had a big house, my cousin had a big house. And I thought, when I retire, my children and grandchildren will come and visit me. So I put up this big house somewhere in a village in Bushenyi. Now I've retired in Kampala. My children and grandchildren live abroad. Even on Christmas, they don't come. And so I would advise, anybody who is young, this putting up the culture in where I come from, or putting up a good house where you go once on Christmas, or when you go for burial, is not helpful. If I'd invested that money in a house in Kampala for rent, I'd be much better off than I am. So if you're putting up a house, put up one you'll need for a long time. After a while, the children will leave. They'll have their own houses. So don't say, I'm building for my children and grandchildren to stay with me in my house.
I like that you've brought that up because it is something that we're used to. I think it's all from the past. Our parents worked hard and left for you land, left for you a house, then the next generation. But it's something that we've come to see, that the younger generation have dreams of their own. They have aspirations of their own. But we as parents, you want to plan for them. So like you said, nja kuzimba nyumba mchalo, abana baja kuchala, But the people you're planning for also have their own plans, of which you have not synced with. You don't know what their plans are yet. So you end up finding, like you said, you've invested in something that was just a waste, if we should say. You should have put the money somewhere else. Now that then brings me to the point. If as a parent, you're getting your money, you've got it, or you have some money, and you want to you want to secure your children's future. I think if I use those words, you want to secure your children's future. What's the best way to go about it? How can you invest for them and be sure? You can never be too sure, but at least to a certain degree that the investment you're making for them or you're putting up for them, they will be able to carry, or they'll be able to immerse themselves into. Or like some parents that we have had, once their kids are at a certain age, they're like, I educated you, that's it. That education is meant to help you better yourself. So parents are like on a picket, like, what do? I invest for them? Where do I invest? How do I invest for them? What do we do as parents to safeguard our children's future?
Well, of course, as he has said, and as you've put it, these children have their own aspirations. They have their own needs. Now the world has become a global village. People are mobile. They're all over the place. All his children are not here. Even grandchildren will follow. He will remain here alone. So there is no point, I think, in investing in fixed assets for these children. And I think the most important thing should be to invest in their heads. Invest in their heads, as they say, prepare them instead of preparing for them. Invest in them, they will look after themselves. They look after themselves according to what they want to have at that time. Times are changing. If at that time it was very fashionable to have a house in the village, now things have changed. People are living in apartments. They no longer live in the villages where you used to live. Everybody, and they will always say, that is the house for so-and-so, the one which has tiles, that is a rich man in the village, that is the one. Now it is no longer an issue. People are in apartments, they are mobile, they will get one here today, they will get a job in Nairobi, they will go and get an apartment in Nairobi. They are on the move all the time. So there's no point saying I've built houses, apartments for them to inherit. Just put preparedness in their heads, give them the education, the skills that they need. They look after themselves.
I want to add two dimensions. You've talked about parents investing for their children, but there's also another category of parents who invest everything they have in their children and leave nothing to themselves. And when you ask them, what is your retirement plan? My children will take care of me. And increasingly, the children are not available to take care of you in your old age. So when you are doing your retirement planning and how you live after retirement, don't put all your hopes in your children that they will take care of you, because they have their own interests. It's a global village. They have their own families. And some of them increasingly go and live abroad, so they are not there to take care of you. So make your own personal plan for you and your wife or your husband, how you'll be taken care of in your old age. But the big, add on what my friend has said, the biggest investment you can make is in the children, in the children's education, in them having skills and knowledge and attitude of being independent and of being able to take care of themselves and their children after you've gone. If you are going to invest for them, it should not be in houses, because they may not be interested. Are there other, is there a fund you can leave, a trust fund? You can leave for your family, take care of your children and grandchildren. There are long-term treasury bonds. There are unit trusts. There are schemes where the money can be liquid. You can turn it into money when you need it, rather than large tracts of land where they're not interested in farming. They're not even interested in real estate on that land when they're away. Is it a form where if they needed it, they could turn it into liquid and pay for your grandchildren's education later on?
Oh, I like the two-dimensional. But yeah, basing and maintaining that we invest in our children, not for our children. We make sure that financial literacy, what we are sharing here, that we're sharing with our younger generation, to prepare them for that time. Because like we have noticed, and which was a scary finding, is how the elderly, how the retired then suffer. The retired, depending on their children, which children also suffering, struggling to also sustain their own livelihood. So it becomes a vicious cycle because preparation wasn't done. But also sometimes preparation it wasn't done because of lack of knowledge, not knowing what to do. We still have a couple of questions coming in. Oh, sorry. Why are you picking me? We still have a couple of questions coming in. And Chibidige, the question you asked, I think we had already answered it. I think we answered it a couple of times. He was asking about some of the red indicators, of the indicators of the red flags in finance, and I think we mentioned some of them. Then also, Cheyune Mugaga is asking, what is the lowest interest ever given on treasury bonds? On treasury bills, sorry.
I don't know. But, treasury bills are a monetary policy instrument. Well, what should I? An instrument that is used by Bank of Uganda to manage supply of money in the economy. Mm-hmm. The bonds are usually used by government for their spending or physical activities. Mm-hmm. And depending on what is available at that time, I don't know the lowest that has ever been given. I haven't done that research, but I'm sure if you went to Bank of Uganda website, maybe you'll be able to tell. But that's how it moves. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If I can add on.
Okay.
The way it works usually, if you do treasury bills 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, the shorter the period, the lower the interest. So if you invest for 3 months, you'll get a lower interest than the one who did 6 months or the one who did 12 months. Now, if you go to bonds, the long term, 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, 15, 20-year, again, the longer the tenure, the higher the interest rate. And it changes from auction to auction, but that's really the trend. So if you invest in long term, you are more likely to get a higher interest rate. Currently, it's around 16% annual interest rate. But there was a time it was even up to 20. Usually around the time of elections, The
Yeah.
government wants to get more money, and so the trend usually goes up. If you go to the website of Bank of Uganda, you will see the rates. In the last
Yeah.
1 or 2 or 3 years, it's all in there. You can be able to track the trend, but usually that's how it works. The shorter the period, the lower the interest rate.
Okay, so those who are tuning in from YouTube, Jamal Alex Tumsime, can someone with experience talk about Islamic banking? That's a very interesting area. I have had people talking about it, and the Islamic banking that has been rolled out. I don't know if either of you have anything to say about that.
Well, Islamic banking is now licensed by Bank of Uganda in this market, and there is a bank that is offering that product in the market. The principle behind it is that there's no interest charged on the loans that you get. For example, if you want to buy, if you've identified an item to buy, say at 100,000, then the bank will tell you it will be at 120,000.
But they won't tell you interest,
Not referring to the interest.
yeah.
Yes.
It's embedded in there somehow.
It will, at the end of the day, it will be. And of course, the idea is that at the end of the day, all risks and losses and profits are shared between the bank and the borrower.
Ah, okay.
If from what I have read, just add on what he said, part of the difference is that you can't just invest in any type of business. It has got to be halal,
Yes.
not haram.
Yes.
So they'll be interested. The normal loans is that you present your business proposal, the bank gives you the money, they take your coroto, they charge you interest. You do whatever you want to do if it's approved. But in Islamic banking, it's not just for any type of business. For instance, if you want to run a bar, if you want to do if you want to have a pork joint in your restaurant, so it has got to be in line with Islamic ethics and morals. 2, the bank is interested in financing with you. So if you want to buy an asset, it won't be registered in your names only. It will be registered in the names of the bank until you pay. So they do joint business. It's like the business is jointly owned by you and the bank.
Do they advise you? How
Yes.
much input do they have?
Yes, because if you want to buy the assets, they'll be involved in you, in paying for those assets directly until you finished paying. Now, the advantage is, because they're monitoring you so closely, when you make losses, the losses are shared. Because you are part of the business. If there is interest and profit, if there is profit, you share the profit with them. If there is loss, you share
Whichever
the loss
it
with them.
goes.
But it's jointly owned by you and the bank who has given you the money. And you also have to pay a tithe on the money.
Monthly.
No, I mean from the profit
As
you also
you
have
get-
to give to the Islamic cause.
Okay. Oh,
Hey,
wow.
it's not free money. I mean, there's no free. There
That-
is a
that-
catch
that
for them. Yes,
interest goes-
promotion of
yes,
Islam is
yes.
also part of the,
I like-
of the
I
money
like
you have
that.
to contribute
Oh.
from the profit you make.
Lessons learned. I'm learning more and more. We're all learning, and I hope you're also picking. I hope your notebook is full of those notes, those bullet points that you want to put out, and make sure that you refer to them as we continue. Now, of course, we're going to go for a break with Mr. Headmaster Sir. But before we go, when we come back, I would want also to ask, especially Mr. Fabian, about how you safeguard yourselves also to protect our money. How do you protect our money against the fraud? Because we've been hearing those stories time and again, and also having heard that you have stuff that collude with the. How do you safeguard that? But we'll answer that when we come back. Over to you.
You didn't say sir.
Oh, sorry. Over to you, sir, Headmaster Sir.
Thank you so much, Karitas. Thank you so much, everyone. My apologies. We are getting quite a number of questions. I think by the number of questions we are getting for treasury bills, I think we are succeeding in scaring people out of any other business pursuit, and they are going for the low risk, low return. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our intention that yes, your money outlives you. You have taken years coming up with that money. You have taken 30 years, 20 years getting that money. There is no need where you should you should be hurrying to deploy it and deploy it into something that is you think will give you double the interest that you have gotten in 30 years. Money respects time. So if we are scaring you out of those other positions, not our aim, but we are happy with that result. So the treasury bills questions are coming, and one thing I need to say that Centenary Bank is a primary banker, and they can actually help you with that, and so can any other of the 7 other primary dealers on the market. As NSSF, we also have for anyone, and then I'm talking about anyone who interfaces with us, we will always make it our business to make sure that you have these options known to you. We have a catalog. You can access it on our website, a catalog which lists all the service providers, licensed service providers, all the licensed fund managers, all the licensed insurance companies, all the licensed bankers and their addresses. And one of the things, we have a good relationship with these banks. Just walk in and say, I am an NSSF member, and you will surely get premium care given to you. Not that they don't care about the other people, but because we are NSSF and you are our member, they will care about you. Definitely, so look out. You can also get this information if you are on Cabinet. Please go to *254#. In there, just select financial literacy, and we'll be able to reach out to you. When we get that query, we'll just process it on our side and then reach out to you. There are some people who are skeptical and are saying we are not yet convinced. There is no hurry in taking your money. Take what you are comfortable taking. At NSSF, we also offer you the partial option. Do you want that partial option? Please, when you get to the counter, tell them, I want to take part of my money. I want to take 10 million. I want to take 20 million. I don't want to take all of it. We will process that for you. You can also add to your money. Excuse me. You can add to your money under the voluntary aspect. Again, through that *254, your NSSF go up, our WhatsApp number, we can be able to reach out to you. Even our catalog, you can scan the barcode in there and you'll be able to go to the voluntary options. So thank you so much. And we are working with a number of partners, a number of financial services providers to provide you this catalog. We are well aware they are providing a service already, but we are convincing them that while you are providing your service, you are in the banking service, let your people be aware of the insurance services. So we have catalogs that they have generously printed and they have put in their banking halls. You can get this information even just walking into the bank and pick this information with some of our participating partners. I don't want to say their names because in the respect of Fabian here, but we have quite a number of those when you go to our website. You can also do voluntary on mobile money. Just dial *165#. *165, lean to get that right. *165, *25#. Pardon? *165, *26#. And you can MTN on MTN, free of charge, and you will be on the voluntary aspect. Ladies and gentlemen, we are working. Today we have Fidelis Leadership Institute, Family TV broadcasting this, and Centenary Bank on their platforms. They are all getting together with us and they're saying this information needs to reach you wherever you are at your comfort. And we shall continue doing this over and over again. Gentlemen, the messages are coming in and everyone is asking about treasury bills, treasury bonds. But we also, there's that particular person that is wondering, outside the regulated, what can I deploy in these other things? Because I am a Ugandan, I need the land. I need to farm something on the land. You know, all of us are farmers. All of us, today is Friday, all of us tomorrow are going to some farm. We have just never sold anything in the market, but we have been farming for a long time. So some people are looking for that license. What is it that I can deploy outside the treasury bills, treasury bonds, outside the low risk, low return? But what can I comfortably deploy, so that people in the village say that this man is actually alive. He has a garden. He has that. So you need to address that at a certain point in time. We also have a webinar on treasury bills and bonds. We dedicated a whole 2 hours. We got in Bank of Uganda here to discuss how these function, how you can do that. When you go to our YouTube channel as NSSF, you will definitely find that. Visit our TikTok channel. You can also find a little bit snippets of that. As NSSF, and this is my final word, we try to put you in the position to see what you want to invest in when the time comes. So we do benchmark studies. We have learning videos. For the people who are interested in agriculture, we have quite a lot of content. We have gone to the people who have walked that journey. If you want to do trees, we have gone to those people, and they have been generous enough to do content to put the entire process that they have gone through on video, and we have put those videos on our YouTube channels. We are cutting smaller snippets on our YouTube channel. Should it be goats? Should it be coffee? Is it trees? Any of those major agriculture businesses that you want to go into, we have had someone who has gone through this. Do not pay the school fees that someone else has paid for. I mean, the banking sector is now okay because someone else paid and they are following some principles. Even the farming sector can be that. If someone has paid fees for me and their mistakes, you do not have to do the same. So please, our bit is to give you the education, it's to give you the information. Yours is to make the decision. Nalongo, back to you. This gentleman, kindly, and this is just my request from you, what would they do? Because this NSSF money is coming to everyone. If it were them, how does it feel? How does it feel getting the money in this economy right now? What would I do first? Do I first kwena zako naku? Or do I first go to a treasury bill and then I say that can wait for another 30 years? Please, take it on.
Thank you, Sir Headmaster Sir. And thank you all for streaming in from wherever you are. Remember, we are also on DSTV channel 375 and StarTimes channel 282 and across all our social media platforms. That's NSSF across, Centenary Bank across, and also Fidelis Leadership Institute across. And Fidelis Leadership Institute is saying that you can also avoid fraud. It's all about ethical leadership. Fraud can be avoided by using ethical leadership at personal and also professional levels. So, and they are saying that they have an intake very soon. So you go check out their website. That's Fidelis Leadership Institute. Check them out and see when you can apply to join so that you safeguard against the fraud. Let's learn. Let's immerse ourselves in this information, this knowledge. It's power. It's power. I mean, that's the only way you can safeguard yourself. Before we answer Sir Headmaster Sir's question there, what you would have done with the money, but also he also asked the other question about where else you can invest. Those high risk areas, not Ponzi schemes and pyramids and all, but what else as a Ugandan where you can invest. And then we also come back to the question that financial institutions, what have you done to safeguard your clients' money, your people's money, so they have more trust in you, so people don't have to keep reading stories about money that was taken from here and there, especially that we've heard that they have insiders who help make the job easier. As an institution, I'll ask you, Mr. Fabian, what have you done to safeguard that?
Well, the ecosystem that manages money for banks has three pillars. Mm-hmm. The first pillar are the systems. Mm-hmm. They are the processes. The second pillar are the people, and the third pillar is the technology. So the bank endeavors, and all banks do, to invest in these three things: processes that have controls adequate enough to prevent frauds, people who have the capacity, the competence to manage the money that has been entrusted with us, and the technology that enables, the management of that money. Of course, for example, if we talk about people, the people we employ are not from heaven.
That's true.
They are from the society that we live in, and always being able to ensure that we have total quality at the gate is not practically easy. You'll get them. Of course, we train them. There are controls, as to how they need to manage whatever they are supposed to manage. But as human beings, you'll always have those ones who can connive, who can compromise controls, who can, bring down technology. The three things I talked about, with a view to, profit from whoever, has the money and so on. But what is most important is to have a system that is able to detect such malfunctions. Malfunction of a process, malfunction of technology, or malfunction of the people, the persons. And banks have that. And that's why we see all these cases coming up. And then when they come up, how are they managed? At the bank, we talk about zero tolerance to fraud as a policy. And indeed, it is the policy. Such that if you are caught in such a vice or an act, even if it involves 1 shilling, you get punished. And those punishments are usually even, publicized. You've been seeing in newspapers, so and so of such cases. So we have systems in place. We have the technology, we have the people, but we also have in place systems that ensure that these people function the way they should. And that's what the regulations demand of us. And that's why there is Bank of Uganda, all these regulators, and we must comply with them. And we do what we do to ensure that it is managed. So you will get a few of those cases.
Yeah.
When they come up, how are they managed? How do we ensure that they don't happen again? And that's what matters.
I love that answer. Very straight to the point. Mr. Muhumuza, let's go to that investment. You're a Ugandan, you're saying, I want to invest. If, say, for example, someone is saying, okay, I'm not thinking about bonds or bills, or where else can I invest that maybe has minimal red flags or maybe none, or somewhere where I know I'm safe to put my money?
Thank you. In 2009, I was restructured. The job I was doing was no longer there. And suddenly, I was on my own. I had a family, I had children, and God has promised me many, many years beyond retirement. So what would I do? Luckily for me, I got a package, a retirement package. I also got NSSF. The first thing I did was to invest in financial literacy. I got this money, put it in the bank, and I figured out how should I spend it. There are some people whose motto is city or loss. I'm not one of them. I don't fear loss. City or loss, high risk. I fear loss. But also, since I had all my money and I was not sure of the next job, if this money is put in something and all of it goes missing, what do I do? Do I become a beggar? So I was interested, how do I invest this money for a long time until I get the next amount of money? So I invested in financial literacy. I read books. I attended seminars. I asked my friends. I consulted. And one of the things I wanted to do, because for 23 years, I was getting a salary. At the end of the month, I would get a salary. But now I'm in a situation where I'm not going to be getting a salary at the end of the month.
It must be scary.
It is scary. So how do I invest in businesses that will usually pay me for a long time to come? That was my question. And so one of them was real estate. In Uganda, we love concrete. We had mortar and concrete. I can see it, I can touch it. But then, if I put all my money in real estate and there are no tenants, so what do I eat? If I put all my money in real estate, but the money gets finished before I finish the buildings. Because in Uganda, again, they give you bill of quantities when you are building, and I can assure you it's much less that you will need. The contractor will always be adding in more and more and more. I think they fear tell you that you need so much to finish the building, so they tell you less. So I went and consulted an engineer friend of mine, and I said, I have this amount of money I want to put in real estate. Should I buy land and build, or should I buy existing structures? And he said, if you are young and you have many years ahead of you to get an income, buy land, and construct. But at your age, you are safer buying and starting to collecting rent regularly. And so I took part of the money I had and bought a few houses so that I could become a landlord immediately. But the other thing I learned in this financial literacy is that don't put all your eggs in one basket. Have a variety of investments that you can put your money in so that if one of them fails, the other one will not fail. And of course, COVID-19 and lockdown did show that those who didn't have a variety of investments were in trouble. Because those who are depending on rent, there were no tenants, so the tenants couldn't pay. Those who had businesses, the business had closed. Those who had transport, if it was not essential transport, they couldn't move. Those who had farming, gardens, they couldn't reach their gardens far away. Anyway, so what I did was to do a portfolio of investments. So I put some money in rentals so that I could collect rent at the end of the month. I put some money in fixed income. I put some money in the bank, fixed deposit. Eventually that was promoted to treasury bonds so that I know at the end of every 6 months, the treasury bonds would be paying me interest for the whole period. But also, because all my life I had been employed and I'm not into business, I didn't want to go into a new venture that I'd never done before. And I wasn't short of offers of do business with me, but my wife is interested in business and is interested in farming. So in our portfolio as a family, we have rentals, we have treasury bonds, but we also have business. So I've invested through my wife to do business. I've also invested with my wife to do farming. So I have a variety of incomes so that if one fails, there's something that will come on. So as I conclude, so I'm saying you need to look at what you are able to do best. If you've been a teacher all your life, you may want to invest in education. If you've been a doctor all your life, you may want to invest in a clinic. If you've been working as a government engineer, you may want to become a contractor. If you've been working as a banker, you may want to do money lending. So even as you do a portfolio, when it comes to do a business that you understand, that you can follow, that you can monitor. Don't invest in one basket. Invest in a variety. Have some passive income where you know you're not going to be there to monitor it every day, but you are sure it's low risk. It's coming in regularly. But also have a business that you understand, you can monitor, and you can be involved in regularly. That would be my answer. That's what I've done.
You have something to add on?
Well, I think he has put it very well. Diversification is the name of the game. You need to diversify as you invest, not putting everything in one basket, but also to know what are your future needs. Your future needs as you retire, medical,
Health, yeah.
which medical may not be here, may be abroad. Therefore, you need foreign currency. So you also need to diversify in your investment to have some portion that is in foreign currency, in dollar. They are euro bonds. You can buy euro bonds as well as part of your portfolio to be able to meet some of those things, manage the risk, the currency risk, and so on. So it is very important, to do all those things. I think there was a question I think it was his, of saying that we are saying you should invest in regulated
yes, businesses. That's what I was asking, if they're not regulated. Yeah.
I think the message that is coming through is that if you were to go beyond the boundaries of regulation, go for something you understand, go for something you can control.
Yeah.
Go for something you can understand, go for something you can control. Not that because I've heard there is a chikubo business that efuna chiralu, I need also to go for it. When you don't quite understand it, it will be a risk.
There's an important space that I want to get into, and Muhumuza, you brought it in. That's why I was going to jump in and ask you. When we talk about this, we cannot alienate family. Family is involved. And then you went and said you invested through your wife. And I know someone is watching and say, hi, John Chikoze Ntejo. Sentence you say you are pan. I mean, it's a risk for some others. They'll say, "Apana, that's a high risk to invest there." But it is a unit. It's a family. I don't think, even, we're talking about people passing, and there's a certain friend who has a friend who passed and no one knows about his wealth. But he's a very wealthy man. He has accounts, he had land, but nobody knew much of his wealth because he had kept it to himself. It is a necessary evil, let me call it that way. What would be your advice? How would one handle it? If you want to invest through your wife, or you're the woman, you have the money, you want to invest through your husband, basically, you want to, how do you, what are those things you look for? How do you safeguard your relationship to stay intact so money does not shake it? Because money can shake it, we all know that. But how do you safeguard that? How do you, how do you do it?
That's a good question. I think before you get married, and as you are courting each other, you need to look at each other's values. What is most important for you as a person? I need to be looking for that partner where we have shared values. If one of them is extravagant and is a slay queen or slay king, don't think that when they get married they are going to change. So you need to marry somebody you can trust with your own life. In marriage, when you wed, one of those vows, and we don't listen to those vows carefully. We just, the reverend reads, the father reads them, but it says that all I am, I give to you. And all I have, I give to you. In the name of the Father, the Son, and all I have, I give to you. We don't take that seriously. This is mine, this is yours, and it doesn't become one for both of you and for the family. And that's where I think the trouble starts. The woman's money is her money. The man's money is his or for everybody. And then the man starts doing his secret investments, secret bank accounts, shares in companies. They buy property. And when they die, it is messy.
Yes.
Because the banks will not volunteer information. If there was a client who kept their money there, it's not only the Swiss banks, but even all banks, the banker is here. You don't just go volunteering information that my client had money here if you didn't mention other people there. So you need to understand each other. One is trust, but also once you know each other, you know how much risk they can take. Because some people, the moment they get money, whether husbands or men, they will not rest until they spend all of it. So again, you have to know how far your person can go and give them just enough. But also, like for me, my wife and I, we understand each other. We have the same values. We trust each other. So our businesses are jointly registered.
Wow.
Our bank accounts are jointly registered. Our treasury bonds are jointly registered. Our land is jointly registered. And her business is also registered in both of our names.
Oh.
Because when one of us passes away, we don't want the other one to struggle. Letters of administration, or whatever. You want to have them access to the resources. Want them to know where the money is and the assets are. It has worked for us. Because me and my wife decided that we are not going to separate until death parts us. We've been married for the last 38 years.
Wow.
Growing strong and still on that. So for me, it's easy because it has worked for me.
Okay.
But for others, where the family may be blended, and it's a challenge. But at least trust. Marry somebody you can trust. Whether it's your husband, trust and respect. Communicate. Plan together. Because I don't do any investment without planning and agreeing with her. Because we agreed that our assets belong to us as a couple and as a family.
But you each have your money you spend on a day.
Pardon?
You each have your money
Yes,
that you spend on your own.
Yes, we have our money.
We
We have our money we spend on.
for yourself that day.
Yes, we don't have to account for.
Okay. Okay. So Fabian, you want to add on that?
No.
How would you advise? Because I'm imagining as an institution, you probably have cases where couples will come in, maybe funds were hidden somewhere or something comes up. I mean, how would you advise them? Because you have a family unit. How do you make sure that money does not, you know?
No, he has said it. It is important. First of all, in the business sense, you have to have succession planning.
Yeah.
You know, if the family is to be perpetuated, because one of you will go.
Yeah.
One of you will go first, and the family has to go on. So as long as you are staying with somebody and you've stayed with her or him for some time, and you are a family, I think it is obvious you need to give information. You have to be transparent. All these things have to be known. Issues of joint accounts, I think, are very important. Otherwise, as a bank, if somebody had his account, he was a single signatory, we have an obligation to protect data and information for that account. The only person a bank will divulge such information to is the one with the court order or powers of administration. You won't come and say, I'm his wife or husband, we've been working together, but when we look in the records,
You're not there.
you are not there. It becomes very difficult.
Okay, I know you have your questions and you're itching to hear the answers. I'm going to go through your questions and I hope we get to answer as many as we can. Some of them we've already answered, so we may not really dwell on them. I think, thank you for the insight. That's Rahma Nakato. She's saying, how much is the starting amount if I want to invest in treasury bills or bonds?
The minimum is 100,000.
100,000
Ugandan
for
shillings.
either. For bonds or bills?
For bonds
For
and
both.
bills, for every transaction, the minimum is 100,000.
Okay.
But of course, the more money you put in, the bigger the amount of money you'll get in terms of interest.
Okay.
I mean, if the one who has put in 100,000 and then put in 10 million at the end of 6 months,
Yeah.
the amount, it's the same interest rate for that period, but the amount of cash you will get as interest will be higher.
Okay.
But minimum is 100,000.
100,000. Oliver Nakalubo, I think you were also asking about the same question around bonds. I hope we've answered that. From our YouTube, Simon Peter, thank you for the discussion. Focusing on combating fraud in the increasing number of investment clubs. What do you recommend for the club members to have confidence in working with banks? I don't know if we answered that earlier on.
The question, come again on the question?
Focusing on combating fraud in the increasing number of investment clubs. What do you recommend for the club members to have confidence in working with banks?
Well, it starts from the policies and procedures that the investment club has. They need to have clear standards, clear policies. For example, if it means 3 signatories, if it means the members have to contribute on a regular basis and how well they follow them, that is what is most important. So the governance of the investment clubs is key. And that's the source of confidence in those. Because for us as a bank, the investment club will come and open an account. And how they operate it depends on how the members have agreed and how they conform to those standards.
Okay. You want to add on, Robby?
Yes, I want to add on. I worked for World Vision for a long time, and World Vision has employed thousands of people over a long time. So the alumni of World Vision, we decided to get together. We started by forming a WhatsApp group, pray for each other, encourage each other, and then we said, why don't we do business together? So we collected money and formed an investment company for alumni of World Vision. Now, in terms of dealing with banks, there are a few things. All our transactions are through banks. We've discouraged cash. So we ask members to deposit the money, membership fees, contributions in the bank, rather than giving it the treasurer or committee member. When the treasurer and the committee are spending on anything, they use checks. And then we do bank reconciliation every month. And then we do audited books of accounts every year. So all these help us to transparency because we know we can track. Again, going back to monitoring and tracking, we put in place systems that help us track the money that's coming in, the money that is being spent and what it's being spent on, and then we have a third party the auditor who helps at audit. We have an annual general meeting where we look at all these.
So
Those
it's
have helped
open,
us.
yeah.
Those have helped us in terms of dealing with fraud because we are working through and with banks and auditors.
Transparency and regulated systems. And trying to go through this question as fast as I can. Maxwell Okello is saying, thanks a lot for the program. Kindly advise on an investment plan while I am still employed. Remember, I can't serve two masters at a go. I have a tipper lorry. I love lorries. I have a tipper lorry in the village that I monitor partially, but whatever happens, when I'm away, only God knows. What should I invest in while I'm still employed? I think both of you are, yeah.
Well, I think we've said it. We've said it. Something you can't control. And I think he put it very, very well. When you are employed, you can't serve two masters successfully. Your focus is on your employer where you get a monthly check. Meaning you don't have time to control the trucks, the tippers and so on. So go for those that are regulated now. Until such a time when you have time to get engaged in something that you understand. Because again, you must engage in something that you are very clear about, you understand all the risks involved in it, and you are able to control it. Otherwise, I would advise, if you are busy, you don't have time for those other side hustles, probably don't go for them.
I would say the same thing. There are a number of what we call passive income or risk. So you could do fixed deposit with the bank. You could do treasury bill. You could do treasury bond. You could do unit trusts. You know, all those. You could do SACCO. That's well regulated and monitored. So there are a number of things you can put. You could do rentals after you've invested enough. So there are a number of things you can put in money that don't require you to be there monitoring them every day.
But you still have to understand how they work.
Just understand how they work. And then at the end, when you retire or you have more time, all the money you've been investing over time, you can put it in something that is risky, but you can monitor when you are more available to monitor it.
I really love this NSSF financial literacy program. I mean, we learn a thing every time we sit down. Now I'm going to go through these last two questions. This also around bonds. Sahid Master, sir, people are going to bonds now. People are now securely going there. They're comfortably going there. He's saying, is there an option of automatically compounding the T-bond interests, where the interest is automatically reinvested in bonds for the time frame selected, say when I go for like a 15-year bond?
The bond usually is for a period. So if you invest in a 20-year bond at 18% per annum, it means that for the next 20 years, that is the interest per annum.
Oh, it's fixed.
But the interest is paid every 6 months.
Okay.
So you can so the interest you got at the time you invested in it is fixed. But you can have arrangement with your bank that once this money comes in after 6 months, the next auction, the next bond auction, reinvest it for me, but that is going to be at the reigning interest at that time. So you can't you can't get the same interest every time you reinvest it because bonds are based on auction. And when the auction with the Bank of Uganda, there is a rate that they arrive at. But you can have, you need discipline. The good thing with treasury bonds is why they call it a cash flow. So if you invest in a 20-year bond at 18% and you put in 10 million, you ask your banker, primary banker, to give you the primary dealer, to give you a sheet of paper that says, on this date, it's going to mature, and you're going to get this amount of money. So for the next 20 years, you'll know on which date you receive your interest. And so based on your schedule, you can then decide to reinvest it. So once the interest is paid and you don't need it, you can reinvest it. Once it matures, after 5 years, you know the date, they put the money in your account, you can reinvest it. Okay. So the bank wants to do it automatically, but you can even automate it on your phone or whatever, a reminder that tells you your money is due, invest it in the next auction.
Fabian, you want to add on anything? You said it?
No, not really. I think he has explained it very well. The beauty with the systems now, for example, at Centenary Bank, every time that interest comes onto your account, you'll get a message. So even if you don't schedule, you'll always be notified, and you're able to be reminded and go and give fresh instructions
Okay.
for reinvestment.
Okay, can Ugandans invest? This is Richard asking, can they invest in foreign financial markets, especially bonds, beyond East Africa? If yes, how can this be achieved?
Yeah, there are banks. There are banks that can enable, investments in other markets, and those are the euro bonds I talked about. For example, if you want to invest in a dollar-denominated bond, say of a country, say Kenya, or you will be able to trade them in the foreign exchange markets, and so let them approach their banks. They should be able to tell them the procedures of doing that.
Okay, I think
I
that
want to
answer
add-
also for Sharon. Sharon, yeah, I think your question also falls in the same line. The opinion on international bonds. I hope that answers your question as well.
I want to add a bit of a commercial for Bank of Uganda
Yes.
treasury bonds. If you look at the global interest rate on bonds, Uganda has one of the highest interest rates. And if you check with Bank of Uganda, every time they do bonds, auction bonds, one of the biggest players are actually foreign banks, because you can invest in an offshore account with a foreign an investor based abroad. They will take you'll sell your money, Ugandan shillings, into dollars or pounds or euros, to give the money to them. They will come back and look at the treasury bond in Uganda interest rate. They're going to sell the euros you gave them, buy Ugandan shillings, invest it in Bank of Uganda treasury bonds, get 18% or 20%, and then convert it back and give you 8 or 10 or 12%.
Wow. It's all about understanding how the systems work. It's all understanding. And the information, like we say, the information is out there. Dennis is asking, Muhumuza, tell me about early retirement when it was involuntary.
I mentioned that it was a crisis to start with, because it was unexpected. But I knew that life must continue. And I knew that I must have hope. And then I took time to reflect over all these years I have worked. What have I learned? What knowledge base do I have? What networks do I have? What skills do I have? How can I utilize them for the next season of my life? And so I had people to ask around for advice, engineers, financial advisors. Let me tell you, by the time I put money in fixed deposit with one of the banks that was offering 20% in fixed deposit, which no other bank was offering, I just couldn't put my money in there. I had to look for my friends in the Bank of Uganda. And I said, this bank is offering 20% fixed deposit. Is that for real? Others are giving me 8, 11. How come? So my friend in Bank of Uganda said, no, that bank, they also do money lending on the side. So because I was saying, how come other banks can't give me 11? This one gives me 20. Bank of Uganda telling me, my friend there, say, that one, they also have some other money lending they do on the side as a loan shark. So, and because we as Bank of Uganda have registered them, you can put a risk that your money will be safe. So my networks helped me in my next season. I talked to engineers, I talked to financial literacy advisors, and then I decided I'd put some money aside for school fees for my children in university. I'll invest in land, I'll invest in treasury bills, and then the skills that I have, how can I use them? So I decided to go into management and communications consultancy, because in my working life, I had trained and worked as a media communications expert. I'd also trained and worked as a manager for a long time. So I went into management and communications consultancy because it's a field I understood very well, but I also had networks in that field. So some of the consultancies I've done and I keep doing are from my areas of expertise, but also from the networks I've built over time.
Preparation, just preparing yourself and making sure that you keep intentionally putting those pieces where they should go. Now, the last question I'm going to ask, I know time is not on our side when we're really enjoying this class. And I think, gentlemen, you'll both answer this one. So this one says, my father owns a house which currently needs renovation at a cost of almost 150 million. He needs to take a loan to get this money. I advised him to rather sell it and put the proceeds in a unit trust. Was I right? What do you think?
Well, it is very difficult to tell whether she's right or not, because there are so many considerations that have to be put into place. You know, if by borrowing 150 million, that house would earn more than she would be earning from a unit trust, it would be a good decision. If not, possibly unit trusts would earn her. So she needs to do some assessment. She needs to get some more information, do some analysis before she eventually comes up with an informed decision.
Okay.
I think it's a lot of factors. You have to look at where is the house located. What is the market for houses in terms of rentals? I guess this is a house for rent, not for sale. What is the rental in that location? From experience, from other people, I'm sure the bank will take the title as collateral, and there'll be interest to be paid on that loan. So you have to project that where will the money for paying the interest come from, because you're still renovating the house or before the tenants coming in. Are there other alternative sources of income? And in case there are no tenants, or the tenants pay less than what's projected, where will the money come from? Then you have to look at unit trusts. How much interest will the unit trust be paying this mzee, and how often? Because the challenge of being old, or the opportunity, the reality of being old, is that you need liquid cash.
That's true.
You need money to live on. But also, when you become old, the insurance, especially medical insurance, are no longer interested in you. But old age diseases are increasing.
Yes.
And so, if you put money in a house, and the money is stuck there, and you need money, cash, to go to India or Nairobi or Malago, Nakasero, for treatment, where would the cash come from? So if you are older, invest in investments that can be turned into liquid quickly. Okay. If you have a treasury bond of 20 years and you have a crisis, medical needs, you can always recall. Okay. You can always resell your bond on a secondary market with no penalty. But if it's in a plot of land in Nakasongora and you are looking for buyers, and the doctors are saying, a house, in this case, and you are looking for buyers because you have a crisis, you are going to be cheated. Yeah. Because when you sell land or house because of a crisis, you'll be taking the lowest bidder.
That's true.
And yet, if you put in unit trusts or treasury bond, you can get your money you put in, plus the interest that has accumulated at that particular time. So to me, that would be the considerations to look at.
Okay, so just do research. Ask the questions, ask those important questions to get more information so that you're you're knowledgeable before you make that decision. But again, you have people who will help you make those decisions. Be very aware. We have Fidelis Leadership Institute, and like they said, for them it's all about ethical leadership, but also using ethical leadership as a personal and professional, at a personal and professional level. And they have an intake, so go on their platforms and sign in. You have no reason not to get yourself in that intake. It's time for us to go, but we're signing off. Maybe a few parting remarks, Sir Headmaster Sir, if that's okay. We could have some parting remarks in basing on this subject that we have discussed. We know that even as we're discussing it, someone somewhere is planning on how to fleece the next person. Someone is planning what business do I kuyiya wanomba bakube kumutwe, you know, by this time it's going to be goats, someone is going to come with a scheme of goats, I don't know. But as we're winding up, what is your parting remark as we have discussed fraud and how to combat it?
When you have a lump sum of money, don't rush to spend it. Take time to plan how to use it, but also have a diversity of investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And as we said, there are a variety of investments, both passive income, fixed deposit, treasury bonds, but also businesses that you can do. If you're going to invest in a business, take a cente wallaba. Put in something that you understand, that they can explain to you clearly, and that is regulated. Otherwise, you'd become the chicken.
Well, we must save for a rainy day. We must save for old age. We must save for retirement. And the earlier we start doing that, the better. But after you've saved, you must invest. And the investments, where you put them, you need to be very careful. You need to know that if a scheme or a vehicle for investment is too good to be true, there is a problem. Don't look there. And there is no free lunch. You need to respect time. There is value in time. There is value in effort. You can't be there and you think without taking time, without taking effort, you'll be able to earn so much. So we need to look out for those things so that at the end of the day, as we save, we invest in things that are going to benefit us. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you for making the time. And if you're still watching, you're still there, you have questions, I'm sure questions are popping up. I'm sure if you go to NSSF platforms, they will gladly answer those questions. Over to you, Sir Headmaster Sir.
Thank you so much, Nalongo. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you so much, all the people who have been there and have taken off these 2 hours to be schooled. Indeed, from the feedback we are getting, you are doing the classwork, and we are now going to the time of homework. And in this homework time, it's just simple homework. Nalongo, yours is a simple one. Yours is to highlight 2 lessons that you have learned from the class, because you are the representation of our members. But for the gentlemen, what is that reading assignment? What is that book? What is that article? What is that blog that you would recommend for the viewers, for the persons, for the members out there, that would add to their knowledge or change their lives, that you yourself have done? What is that one book? It could be a blog, it could be a movie for some of us, that you would recommend for the viewers that would be able to change their financial address. I'll start with you, Robby.
I would encourage everybody to go to Google
Mm-hmm.
and put in the question, what are the red flags of a financial scheme? How not to be scammed? You'll get a long list. You'll get a long list of characteristics. Switched off. Sorry. Go to Google and search what are the characteristics or red flags of an investment pyramid or Ponzi. You'll get a long list of red flags. You also get tips on how not to be scammed. That's what I would recommend.
Thank you so much. Fabian.
Well, I would recommend that, members, viewers, go back to their YouTube and look for the website of NSSF, look for the website of Centenary Bank, and review what we've discussed today.
Okay.
It is going to give them a lot of information and knowledge.
With those words said, I want you to take off another minute, Fabian, to just emphasize a little bit of what Centenary can do with our members to propel them on their financial journey.
Well, Centenary Bank was founded to ensure that ordinary Ugandans, especially those in the rural areas, are helped to improve on their well-being in terms of their wealth. And that's why we've done quite a lot. We believe in partnerships. Centenary Bank has partnered with NSSF in so many ways. Currently, those who are not banking with us or banking with us, you can access Visa cards that you can use in your management of your savings at NSSF and subsequent spending. You can open accounts at Centenary Bank to keep your savings if you access them from NSSF, as you think of how to best deploy them or invest them. There are so many investment vehicles that Centenary Bank avails: fixed deposits, savings accounts, investment clubs, and things of that nature. And when you come, we will help you to explore many of these vehicles where you can have your money be kept safely.
Thank you so much. And I have been assured back office by Fabian that the password, all you have to say is NSSF member, and you will get that premium treatment of the array of vehicles that you can actually invest your money in. And finally, the student, class monitor. 2 lessons that you have learned from today.
First of all, there's information out there. Just get knowledgeable. Just whether you're going to Fidelis or you're going to Headmaster Sir to get more information, or you look for Robby to make sure you get more information, get knowledgeable, research on that business that you want to do, and do something that you really understand. But also the fact about time, that thing that what Fabian said here, that time, there's nothing like quick money, there's nothing like a business you just 1 minute it's starting, the next minute it's blown up. It doesn't happen overnight. So allow time take its shape, its time. I mean, let the business grow as it should grow. And if it's something you want to invest in, make sure that it is not something that is too good to be true.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much, everyone. Time. That is the aspect I am getting, and I know my team is working on something called life compounding, the beauty of time. Time has brought us compounding, and compounding is the 8th wonder of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, money does not grow in a vacuum. It is just time. 600 of us at NSSF are looking at your trillions, and the best gift you have given those trillions to become from millions to trillions is because we have this money with us for a long time. When you come and you have a school fees problem, we'll tell you, give us time until when you're 55. And because we keep doing that, that money keeps growing. Start sending your money, start sending your problems away from your money, and let your money grow. NSSF Financial Literacy will be back the next time tackling other subjects, and we are grateful for Karitas, who always moderates our class monitor. We are grateful for Fabian, who took off time. He walked from Mapera house to Workers house, and just to come and do this for us. It was really, really short notice, but we are grateful that you gave us that time. And we are grateful for Robby, who has opened up his life, his unemployed life, to tell us that there is life after unemployment. You can actually be that person that they would want to call. We are glad that you have come, and we are glad that you are the person who has given us the reality side of life. Thank you so much from NSSF. We are grateful. Thank you so much, Family TV, for putting this on TV. FLI for putting this on your Twitter spaces. Centenary Bank for putting this. You are creating those spaces where people can actually go and learn. And thank you so much, Karitas. Karitas for us giving us herself as a subject. No, I'm saying all these words so that I don't have to buy lunch. For availing herself as a subject where we can keep experimenting this lab. From NSSF and the Financial Literacy team, thank you so much, and let's see you the next time. Goodbye.